exactly is going to happen. Guys, we're going to jump into game number 1 right away. And in the south of the map, southeastern corner, it is going to be VortiX in the blue playing Delhi Sultanate. And at the southwestern part of the map, it is going to be Kasva playing the French. It is the best of 5 game, or best of 5 mashup, so you guys will see exactly how that kind of develops. Very first game here is going to be quite weird, I think, because those players are not really ready for this to come. It is, by the way, Lipany, so it is not going to be Dry Arabia for game number 1. But it is going to be quite an interesting situation, I think, quite an interesting development for the players here. So you can see, well, there's going to be a standard opening for the French, I guess. So Kasva is going to go for a house into a gold mine and just kind of go 2 villagers, 3 villagers onto gold, age up as quickly as possible, get that aggression going. VortiX, on the other hand, on Delhi, he's getting the mosque. I think this is the mosque, isn't it? Yeah, it is the mosque. Which basically increases the research rate if you have a scholar garrisoned in it, right? So it is a unique mechanic to the Delhi. It will boost the research rates for all the buildings. And what you can, by the way, see is instantaneous big start on the wheelbarrow tech. So Delhi Sultanate is very special in this game because they do not have any costs for the research. So generally speaking, research costs a lot of gold. It costs a lot of food or wood. And basically what happens for the Delhi is that they have very slow times of research. But they do not spend anything on getting the research going. So that you can just get free tech. So by minute 5, you will have this wheelbarrow completed. And as you add scholars to the mosques that form this kind of a chain of buildings, it will actually mean that the research speeds up. So the more scholars you can produce, the more tech you get. And also the mosque itself does have some unique tech of its own. The sanctity upgrade, for instance, over here is going to give you the ability to capture the sacred sites with your scholars before age 3, which is really cool because I think you can just go for it in the Dark Age. You just kind of pump out a scholar or 2, you just run them through the map, and you get that upgrade going. So it's very weird, honestly, seeing those 2 masks drop. I have not seen too much Delhi played professionally, so it is going to be a very, very weird situation, I think. So you can also see that efficient production is being researched. So scholars can be garrisoned in military buildings with this, and they can boost their production, which is very indicative, actually, of a possible early push, because this is 100% double production speed, actually. So it doubles up the production speed for those players for the Delhi Sultanate player. So it's really exciting to see how exactly this develops. I think we're gearing towards a very early push, to be honest. We have not seen a scholar come out yet, so I'm not sure exactly how that happens. For VortiX, whether he's just gonna get a scholar early, once this, is about to finish, 2 minutes, 5 seconds, so plenty of time to go still. And once this upgrade actually finishes, he's probably just gonna send a scholar to the sacred site, just capturing it. I think that's gonna be the play for VortiX, for a Spanish player. Kasva, on the other hand, is I think I'm gonna reveal the entire map because I believe it's just a better idea overall. Kasva is going for a School of Cavalry. He's aging up very, very early on. I think this is one of the earliest possible age ups. He's sending 5 villagers as well to build this. So it's going to be a very, very early pumping out of cavalry here. He's going to get a knight. I think he finishes this at less. I have not seen this happen so early, actually. I play French. I have never been able to get it so soon. Is basically, so what Kasva is doing, he's actually not getting any sort of wood gathered yet, so he's just gonna go for the lumber camp very late on into this matchup. He's just gonna have enough food to produce a knight. 6 villagers building the School of Cavalry. He starts the knight instantaneously, and will have this very scary situation for VortiX because he has a lot of mining here actually that might be vulnerable to attacks. And there is no barracks yet. We see the Dome of Faith being researched, which produces scholars at 50% cost from the landmark, which is a good economic upgrade, of course, but it doesn't stem the flow of knights. And you really have to deal with them somehow. By the way, VortiX honestly sitting on 113 wood, so he's nowhere near having enough to handle this, though he does actually... Okay, what's happening? Oh, okay, he's building Dome of Faith, so he doesn't need wood anymore, so he doesn't need gold anymore. He just had, I think he needed some gold for units, maybe. I don't know why he got an extra 120, but he doesn't need extra gold for anything. So he might have actually overgathered here a little bit. Maybe for a scholar, right? Scholar costs 150 gold. So he actually recognized the timing of the knight. He knows that the knight is going to come across the map and attack him. So I guess that's why he pulls those villagers away. He still needs a little bit more to go to purchase that scholar, though that's actually not true because this produces scholars at 50% the cost. So he's going to be able to pump out the scholar very early on. You can see the knight actually wrapping around the base of VortiX, and he's just gonna go towards the berries over here, getting shot from the TC, but he might actually get a villager kill, because honestly, VortiX is not paying attention. There's gonna be a dead villager for sure, dead to rights, he is. Kasva does actually get a single vill kill. That's very good for the first knight actually getting that kill, because, you know, the damage hasn't yet spiked up. You know, having 3 knights, of course, makes your, you know, assassination potential way more efficient, right? We see the age up coming from VortiX, so he's kind of comfortable, I believe, going up to the next age. He's getting some spears as well. This upgrade might come down. Also obviously going for a blacksmith, because this is 3 tech upgrades, so you want to get as many tech buildings as possible as you can afford, really, and just continuously get those upgrades going, because you can just get a very decent lead throughout the game if you just can keep spamming those upgrades out. By the way, we can see that there is a villager being focused by the knight. Once again, this is gonna go down, because I'm very surprised actually that that VortiX hasn't quite gone for any sort of defensive infrastructure yet. I think this is a very nice opening for a wall if you really need to defend against the French. And obviously those knights are going to be relentless now attacking our Delhi player throughout the game. I think that's going to be a very scary situation for VortiX, and VortiX has to take no damage at this point. He has to be very defensive, otherwise he just is going to be threatened by a lot of damage being dealt by those knights. Of course, the more spears you can get, the more conf you get on the map as well, because you can just defend your villages, your gatherers, way more efficiently. The scary part is, of course, that this scholar is slightly exposed. There are 3 spears over here guarding him, but I'm not sure how long he can hold the sacred site for. Obviously, this is going to be 3 gold generation for our Delhi players, so getting this is obviously good. But obviously the question remains, how much can you do? And what Kasva is doing here, very expertly actually, he's not going for those kind of direct kills. He just kind of charges in, gets a kind of extra damage from the charge, because charge does extra damage for the knights. So he charges in, attacks a single villager, does some damage, and then he can actually just rinse and repeat again, right? So he can just kind of come back in with another charge, and probably just down this villager. 21 HP means like probably a charge and a single auto will be the demise of this vill over here. Oh god, that's a kill actually instantaneously. I'm very surprised there's gonna be 2 villager kills, by the way, for this knight. That's crazy damage, by the way, coming from from Kasva. And VortiX is not dealing with the aggression too well, is he? He's really taking a lot of damage. He has not been able to sustain his villagers. He has not been building enough infrastructure, I think, to just preempt those attacks. And he's getting himself into a very bad situation right now, where, you know, obviously, like, every single villager lost means that VortiX is going to be losing his potential to win the game in the end. 31 villagers on the side of Kasva, and VortiX only on 23, so it's almost a 10 villager lead for our French player over here. And the defenses are going. It's actually very surprising, because, to be honest, you'd expect the French player to be the one building the offensive units, whereas actually he's on the defense as well. He's building this outpost over here, obviously to secure the hunt from the potential harassment. That's kind of peculiar, right? We shall see how exactly this happens. By the way, this scout might die. No, he doesn't actually. Microed out very efficiently here, but those archers now exposed from VortiX. Kasva is pouncing on those, but he loses 2 knights for this, I think. Looks like not a very good trade. Those knights just kind of keep running around like headless chickens. He loses 2 of them. Very inefficient trade for Kasva. So VortiX strikes back over here, of course. He's getting a nice advantage in this place. I wonder if you know, you're actually able to, as Kasva, of course, as VortiX actually, if you're able to contest 2 of those sacred sites at the same time, where he's actually going to be able to defend both, just get enough units to just kind of keep tabs on both of those places. Obviously remains to be the question, it remains to be answered, right, I guess. It's going to kind of turn out in a second. Obviously, this one is going to be repelled. I don't think it decaps. I think this spear actually reaches the spot right in time. But once again, Kasva can just run up over here right now, try to contest this site once again. I'm really surprised by how contained the base of VortiX has been. Obviously, VortiX does actually probably want to spend some money right now and buy some stone, maybe buy some wood, get that second TC, because getting behind in terms of villagers against the French is no good sign at all. But here we can see that Kasva not really eager to go up to the second base, so he's gonna sit on 2 only. Really wondering how exactly this works for him. We can see those holy sites, those sacred sites being contested by both players. Though this color heavily exposed, 150 gold just walking on the map, that's not good either. I really believe that VortiX could spread those units a little bit thinner and just get something, you know, to defend this side. Actually, he escapes. So this color does escape. He can heal up, he can be healed by other scholars, so he's not necessarily dead to rights. I thought those archers would be definitely able to catch up. Actually, they die for this as well, so not only do they fail to kill this scholar, they actually die trying to escape as well. And VortiX is very good at rotating between those two sacred sites. You have to admit that he has been actually... Oh, he's going up to castle very quickly, so I was wrong. He buys food with that gold. He doesn't buy the wood, he doesn't buy the stone, he just buys the gold, he just buys the food, and he tries to age up very quickly. This does actually, once your opponent realizes what you're up to do, this puts you at a decently large deficit. And you can see actually very good micro from VortiX, focusing on the archers from the get-go, and it does repel Kasva's advances, so Kasva is forced to back away. I'm not sure how exactly the economy works for Kasva, but VortiX is getting a very decent tech advantage in this game. Not only does he get free technologies across the board, so he has a lot of different bonuses researched, but he also is working with potentially a very significant tech lead. I don't think Kasva has started his guild hall. He's not even anywhere near that, so he's behind in tech significantly right now. Obviously, he does recapture or decapture the sacred sites at least, but House of Learning being finished, with all those nice unique technologies as well that can be researched, this is very surprising from VortiX, but so far it's working so freaking well, guys. What do you think of the game, people? It's looking like, you know, a small advantage towards VortiX, isn't it? Because he's been able to accrue a lot of gold from those sacred sites, and he's actually just dominating this, technologically speaking, as there you should be. He's dominating this matchup, right? He has good tech, he has good overall control of the map, despite losing some of those early villagers. And, you know, as you kind of go into the later stage of the game, I think, like, you can just expand as Delhi. You have so much tech going for you, like, for free, that you don't have to spend money on this. That's very important, right? That you really are not spending money on this research. So he has a lot banked up from that, you know, potential research that he would have needed to spend money on, which means that he's just gonna get a very large lead as the game lasts, right? That's what I've been saying, right? If you allow the Delhi to just go into late game, they're just gonna smash you. I do not mean the elephants, because I do personally feel like elephants are not the strongest units in the world, but I do mean this kind of sheer power of units, where you have, you know, all those upgrades going for you. You have very good economy because you get the upgrades for the eco as well, for free, right? You have a lot of those extra unique technologies. By the way, Kasva has not, sorry, VortiX has not started this. Kasva, though, on the offensive here with the knights, as I pan over here, we can see a single villager going down, probably the other one escaping with, you know, like 60% of her HP. And it seems like, by the way, there is no lumber camp being built here, which is not efficient way of gathering wood for our Delhi player. But at the same time, VortiX is actually, that's very intense game. Look at this. VortiX is going onto the map. He's going towards the sacred sites. He's capturing 2 of them at this point. He's just going to continue this relentless pressure on the map. He's going to probably be able to snipe another knight. And the problem for Kasva actually is at this point that he is super far behind. He has not even been able to get enough resources to, you know, to efficiently go towards the next age up. Has he? I don't see any guild hall being built, so he's mining a lot of gold right now. I think he intends to go up, but it's going to be a lot of effort still before he's able to. You have those archers, probably going up to the veteran archers as well. You have men-at-arms, which are quite... They're cost efficient, right? They're not as strong as knights still, but they're very gold efficient because they only cost 20 gold and 100 food, I think, which is a very cheap option. Though, you know, Kasva is actually able to push VortiX off those berries. He's actually taking a very favorable trade over here, killing a few villagers, also killing some of the archers because of the obvious archer disadvantage for VortiX. Right now the numbers are a little bit thin, but he's going to be double producing archers at this point. Those are veteran archers right now as well with the unique tech. I'm really surprised House of Learning is not researching anything, by the way, guys. That's kind of weird, isn't it? That they should be going for that. He should be going for one of those unique techs. This is melee damage of MAAs and knights increased by 3. That's plus 3 damage. Incredibly good tech overall. We have the lookout towers, which is kind of okay. Mosques healing friendly units. That's going to mean that your army can sustain itself way better. This is basically what other civilizations need as special landmark for, right? For instance, the Mongols need a special landmark that can, of course, be moved to the battlefield, but still they need to have it around. So it's a nice region possibility for you as well. You could also research this, which means that you are more, resource efficient with purchasing those houses. So you can basically just have a little bit less wood spent on those. You can see a very nice engagement here, I think, from VortiX. He has like a lot of those cost-efficient units here. Those MAAs, of course, just kind of going to be this very decent, strong front line for VortiX. He's completely dominating this fight. He's gonna take out all those knights in the front. He's just going to confidently push forward as well. So this, he snipes the knight, and he does actually eke out another piece of ground here. He is going to move towards this outpost. He's going to deny those berries permanently, I believe, right? There's a lot of MAAs actually here. The Castle Age bonus is very good because it's just kind of going to be this high-tech available to our Delhi player. He's just going to have this very solid baseline army. Those are not like ridiculously powerful units, but they're just good enough to keep VortiX going. And of course, he has free income right now because he has been able to secure those sacred sites. He might be researching something here, not really. This House of Learning going completely unused, so you can see how much ground for improvement there is. But obviously, I think VortiX realizing how far he is ahead is just going to pounce. He's not going to bother with, those pesky little techs. He's just going to move forward, he's going to start fighting, he's going to try to take the lead home. He's just going to keep spamming infantry with his extremely high production values, right? Because he's just garrisoning those scholars into the molds. He's producing so many of those extra MAAs. Actually, is just going to take this game. I think this is GG. This is the GG moment, I think, for Kasva. Like, what do you do here? You just lost a major fight. You lose all your knights, all your archers. Your opponent has superior tech. Those MAAs fully upgraded at this point. We have veteran archers also upgraded too, with extra armor, extra defense. There is nothing you can do as Kasva. You're just gonna get raided to your demise. I think there is no possibility for him to catch up ever in this case as well. Kasva taking a very sad loss, I guess. Is just getting absolutely dominated here by his opponent, by Delhi Sultanate of all things. Very, very surprising. So VortiX just showing us how good he is at the game at this point, I think. Also, Delhi not being really favored by anybody seems to be extremely efficient if played correctly. This being said, you have to remember that VortiX also took some heavy villager losses, so he didn't play conservatively. I think he was actually out on the map a lot. And despite all that, despite losing like, 5-6 villagers over time, and despite French having a decent econ bonuses, a decent econ bonus overall, he still is able to eke out a victory here, I think. There's like very little that you can do as Kasva at this point. You just kind of get raided to infinity. And obviously I think you might just be going towards those siege engineers. No, not really, as VortiX. But this is very cool, unique tech for our Delhi players. You can see forced march over here is also going to provide you with extra movement speed, where your melee units cannot attack. So they can only move forwards, but they cannot attack. This obviously is meant to be this nice gap closer for those melee infantry units, right, where they can actually just run into your opponent's ranks and just completely obliterate them, I believe. That's basically the idea here. So you can just catch up with the archers, catch up maybe with the cavalry with this ability, and deliver some extra damage. I think there's going to be second blacksmith somewhere. Yeah, there's a second one researching the extra movement speed, I think. So we have lots of tech coming in for our Delhi Sultanate player. No text research from the House of Learning still, despite them being free, of course, which is a bit weird. I think that's just something that you could improve upon if you are playing the Delhi here as VortiX. But overall, this is such a clean game, right? He has been able to capture all those sacred sites. He has been getting lots of economy, and all that Kasva can do right now, I think, is tap out, because he has been just completely outmatched. Absolutely outplayed here. Those veteran units from Castle Age outmassing as well the opponent here. 44 economy, by the way, for VortiX to Kasva's 54. So still very decent economy for our French player, but he has nothing to show for it. No production available. He has been spread thin towards those resources outside of his base, trying to kind of maybe cheese out a little bit of economy here, just kind of trying to maybe sustain his production better. But this being said, even though he is going to be able to sustain the production, I'm not really sure if that's going to be enough, right? Because, you can see this objective victory being triggered, first of all, which is very unlikely to be the kind of the ending factor for the game, since, let's face it, Kasva is just dead, right? But we can see those MA is actually attacking the TC without any additional defensive structures. Here there's no battering ram, there's nothing to basically tank for them, but they're just so tanky anyway, they're just gonna stand here and face tank this. You know, if your knights, by the way, are dying to archers like this, like they're getting two-shot by archer volleys, I think that's also a very good indicator that you just kind of go out of the game and just start a new one, because let's face it, Kasva is dead to rights in this game, and VortiX taking a commanding lead, he's just kind of measuring every single unit that is produced. And even if, I think even if Kasva was just kind of to be more conservative, if he was just kind of to rally out those units and just go for the decisive fight, he was good to win this. Age behind, lost VortiX expected win in game 1, so he had a very nice clean plan, and he did execute this expertly as well. And this is basically that guy's game 1 advantage towards VortiX. I'm not sure how long the series is gonna last at this point, because VortiX has just been really strong, right? He's been strong on the day. So far, of course, only one game isn't too indicative of what's gonna happen later, but we have a very good starting point here, and I think it's just exciting to see what those players do next. Yeah, so we have this situation, guys, happening. VortiX taking the game with Delhi, guys. Out of all things, he actually wins with Delhi. Right, might actually add some small text here, just kind of indicating what civs were played so far, right? Might be a good idea to see, to kind of have an overview of what is still available. So bear with me for a second as I actually scramble to add that thing as well. So let me just kind of see this. I think this is the, that's just kind of from my YouTube. So we're gonna have like a small match history on the left, I think, where I'm just going to note the games, right? So it was VortiX with Delhi versus French, right? And it was a win for Delhi. So that basically is our first game. I'm going to keep track of all those games happening, so I will have a nice list for the series, I think. Maybe I'll just add, you know, VortiX versus Kasva here. I think that would be useful for people who are just kind of going to join the stream to keep track of things, right? So it's going to be... it's going to look like this. So you have like a nice representation of what is happening in these matches, I hope. So VortiX versus Kasva loses with French. I'm just gonna indicate the winner. I think that's enough, because LFR looks like looking for raid from WoW. I do not want to confuse my World of Warcraft audience here, guys. So just gonna wait for the next game to start. They're probably picking their civilizations, maybe taking a little bit of rest, getting some breathing room, and they're just kind of getting ready to come into the second matchup. It was an exciting game, guys. It was very exciting, actually. I'm thrilled. How do you guys feel about this? Like, how do you feel about the matchup? Have you played Delhi at all? Because I played a few games in multi, in 2v2, I think, only. I have not been courageous enough to pick Delhi into 1v1s, because I knew I would be getting absolutely obliterated by my opponents here. So yeah, that's the question, right? How strong is Delhi Sultanate? Because obviously they seem to resemble the French to some extent, right? I guess, sorry, the Chinese, that is, because both Chinese and Delhi have those unique mechanics that are kind of micro-intensive. You know, you have to micromanage the scholars, you have to manage also those imperial officials as the Chinese. So if you're good at kind of micromanaging and fighting at the same time, you can definitely just maximize the efficiency and crank out some extra units, get a nice advantage, right? But if you're not really just well versed with the game, I think you're just gonna be in trouble, which seems to be the case here. For VortiX being really good on Delhi, actually, he was super well practiced. He came to probably the hardest matchup that Delhi can have, and he just straight up takes it. Like, there was very little room for Kasva to maneuver there. He was able to deliver some econ damage, but it just wasn't enough in those fights. Like, he just fell flat. I'm not really sure what you do. Like, if someone plays as well as VortiX, do you just need to have like more aggressive playstyle? Maybe that's the problem, right? Maybe you just have to, since you're producing nice early, you probably just want to get the archers early as well. Maybe that was the rush that was the problem. You want to just kind of get some villagers onto the wood sooner, just produce some archers, you know, deal with those spikes and actually just kind of keep pressuring your opponent. Maybe that's the idea. Maybe that's how you're supposed to play this. So maybe it was the problem for Kasva. Actually, just played too aggressively. He didn't kind of play for this kind of mid feudal where you can take advantages against the Delhi. He played for early feudal, and he was punished for it quite heavily because he didn't have the enough units actually to just take those fights straight up. Right? I think that was a very big issue, and he was just completely outmatched. To be honest, he was just completely outmatched by VortiX. VortiX being, of course, really, really strong here. And they're actually loading into game number 2, so we're just going to also follow in suit. Holy crap, no way, Kasva picks now. This is a new meta I was not aware of. Have you guys seen Delhi, actually? Have you guys seen Delhi played by the streamers on the ladder? I saw, like, Fizzbro play Delhi. Fizzbro is the only player, actually, who was picking Delhi Sultanate. We have 2 minutes 40 actually to wait, so here you go, guys. We can just take a little bit of a breather, just chill for 2 minutes 30, and then we'll just go into the next game, okay? So I'm just going to relax my vocal cords a bit, just get some breathing room, and we'll just cast this game as it starts. So give me 2 minutes of a break, okay? Because it was a very intense first game. Okay, guys, I'm back. So we can resume the cast, I think. You might be fortunate enough to hear my dog drinking in the background as well, which is kind of cool. Now we're just gonna load into this matchup over here. 25 seconds remaining for VortiX and Kasva to get started with the second game of the day. So it's very thrilling to see Mongols versus Delhi once again. We're gonna have like 2 straight up Delhi back-to-back games, and people have been like really taking Delhi have been taking a beating in the tier list. So let's see how exactly this one works, guys. We're just gonna load into the game, and here we are. So starting in the northeastern corner of the map, in the blue, it is VortiX playing Mongols, and at the bottom right, bottom eastern corner of the map as well, playing the Delhi Sultanate, it is Kasva over here in the red. And this map is actually, I just need to check it, it's Mongolian Heights. There is some water on the map, which is going to be exciting because we have not really seen that many water maps overall being played in the tournament overall. So it's a very big change, I want to say. I'm very surprised to see this happening. And yeah, it's kind of cool. Let's talk about the build, by the way, for our Delhi players, okay? So as you guys can see, in this case, Kasva are not going towards gold at all. He's just gonna produce a single scholar from the mosque which he started the build with, and he's gonna also move towards the berries with the mill, because obviously Delhi get extra gathering rate from the berries. He's just, I think, rallying the units towards the wood. So it's going to be a very different approach from what we have seen, I guess. It might be the case he's just gonna go towards the second mosque and only then will he actually, you know, try to pivot from the wood gathering. On the other side of the map, though, because it's also quite interesting, it's going to be VortiX. I'm going to probably reveal the entire map, guys. So on the other side, it is VortiX playing the Mongols. He's also full on wood, actually. He's just going all the way towards the wood. He does build the Uvu over here as well. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Is it Ovu? Uvu? I guess it's Uvu, right? And he's going to actually be also just mass gathering the wood. A few villagers on the sheep, just 5 right now for VortiX, which is a rather small number, honestly. It's also, like, you can see both players kind of gearing towards the water play, I believe, right? So that's why they're kind of going towards that approach. So they're just going to gear towards the water. They're going to take the docks over here, and they're just going to contest the water territory, unless they're just going to keep themselves trapped a little bit, just like our player over here. VortiX, I'm not sure if this is the right spot for you to be in with this dock, because there are only 3 fishing spots over here on this segment of the river. At the north, though, which is probably more preferable for him, there are probably more. There is 1 fish over here. There's 2 fishing spots. 3 only? Seriously? Yeah, okay, never mind. So he's actually good. He has, like, he basically doesn't miss out on anything. There are 3 fishing spots over here. And let's see what exactly our Delhi player is dealing with here. There's 1, 2 spots over here. And there's going to be... Okay, it's actually disadvantage towards Kasva, actually. He has... fewer fishing spots, fewer ponds available, right? So those shoreline fish, of course, do not provide you with the highest gathering rate in the world, but, you know, a dock so early basically acts as a second TC, just propelling you towards the later stage of the game, right? I do not think there are fishing traps available in the game, and neither are they actually contesting this area, so which would be very silly, by the way, because those fishing ships for that you can shoot, actually, they have arrows. So they're fully loaded, fully geared, armed and ready to fight. So that would be very unwise, I think, to contest the Delhi Sultanate. But you'd probably expect the Delhi actually to try to go onto that pond with their opponent, maybe to just kind of deny them some access to the fishing. Of course, here there is an outpost built as well by VortiX. So he's going to keep tabs on the map. He's going to have a decent sight as to onto what is going on. Oh, he can actually cross this. That's very cute. Because there are like certain places where you cannot cross, actually. In this particular place, you can actually cross the river with your fishing boats. And there is like small aggression going on, of course. Those fishing boats cannot respond. They are, however, first of all, able to repair each other, because the fishing boats kind of work like civs in StarCraft 2, I think, whereby they can repair each other, actually. And second of all, they can also get repaired by the dock, right? Of course, you're paying wood to do this, right? So... as you guys can see, VortiX actually is spending some wood to repair those boats here, and there's a lot of aggression coming in from Kasva. Kasva is probably... VortiX is going to garrison this tower, actually, in the end, so there is no more damage to be had, I think, from Kasva. So Kasva is going to have to basically leave, go through this passage, narrow passage over here, and leave. What is, by the way, very confusing to me is that the boats can cross those kind of shallows, right? But they cannot cross the bridges. They get stuck underneath the bridges. That's what I thought was the case, right? Because I thought they could not cross the shallows. They can cross the shallows very well, but they just get stuck completely underneath many of the bridges, where they just are unable to move either back, or they can move neither back nor forth, right? Which is kind of weird of a mechanic. Now let's have a look at how this game develops. So Kasva over here just going heavily towards the wood still. He is gathering lots of it. He's producing the boats. We have... Kasva is basically sitting on 11 villages on wood, 11 on food, and 3 on gold. He has enough gold to age up, so he just kind of gives up on gathering more. Also, Khan is actually taken down by those fishing boats. On the other side of the map, with VortiX's game, I guess, like his side of the map is very empty. He barely has anything built because he has been probably mass spending on those ships. We have, what, like 8 of them already on the map. There are also villagers gathering here, probably just kind of keeping those outposts manned just in case should, you know, Kasva decide to aggress. But Kasva has been able to wall off all those entrances, and I think he's just gonna play for a slower, more passive game, because that's what, you know, Delhi is strong at. Actually, Delhi Sultanate is extremely strong at playing those prolonged, more defense-oriented games where you can turtle and just kind of get towards decent tech. We can see actually that Kasva here is aging up with Delhi, so he's going up to Dome of Faith, whereas the Mongols over here, they're just going towards the deer stones. And we've actually seen a lot of criticism of this build from many prominent players, actually, like BCQT among other things. BC is very good in Mongols. He has been saying like there is no point for a Mongol player to go towards those deer stones. But I think what people are underestimating quite a bit is the offensive potential of this landmark, because you can just move those deer stones across the map towards your opponent with your units and pack them. You have like a huge area of effect. We can just freely move with this increased movement speed, which means like you are just going to be way more efficient at catching people off guard and attacking them. Now, Kasva does something very smart, so he just builds a tower, he builds an outpost over here. He's going to also garrison this thing with villagers and with a scout. So this actually just going, I guess it doesn't do that much actually. I thought it would be applying lots of pressure, but to be honest, those fishing boats, you know, they're just healing from the docks area of effect, and they do not need any external healing. There is no need for repairs even. So this tower with so few villagers and with so few units inside is just not doing the work it's supposed to, I think. That's what the plan is good, but the execution kind of falls flat to a large extent. Let us compare the economies, because VortiX is working off the back of 36 workers right now, whereas Kasva is actually on 36 as well, with 6 idling. I guess villagers somewhere must have finished building and he has not been able to reassign them yet. He just kind of goes for it right now. This is the marker of very high APM, I guess, because he just instantaneously, you know, gets those units to build something else. He could have queued that though. He could have just shift queued them to do something else once it was finished. However, you guys can see that's what I was saying, right? The deer stones moving up towards this bridge over here. You can see there's going to be some aggression probably coming from the side of VortiX. VortiX also moving those boats towards Kasva's position. Kasva obviously can fight back with them because they're just such a strong unit. Early on, they can definitely just deal with a few pesky archer ships, right? Which is exactly what our Mongol players is using to harass here. So this is turning to a weird, hectic water game, all in all. There's a single dhow being built, by the way, or dhow, I have no idea how to pronounce this word either, being built by Kasva over here. He's just going to move alongside this river, I guess, towards the position of VortiX once he gathers enough forces on the map. You have to remember, though, that that VortiX is working with a small advantage in terms of production. Actually, no. Oh, I thought he was building this dhow, but he just decided against it. He cancelled that. And he's just working with a singular dock to one dock of his opponent. There are very few military units being built. Actually, the infrastructure is very thin for the Mongols. There's basically nothing in the base. There are 2 archery ranges, probably double producing the archers here, which is, again, I'm not really a big fan of this. Of course, like, you can just propel your army with this, but my problem with this approach is that, of course, you get archers, like, but you could be getting double villagers with this, honestly. Obviously, you have to move your TC, then it's going to require you to build some sort of gathering building as well next to it. But I think it could be a good idea to just kind of double produce villagers. I've seen lots of people do this, because just, you know, a free villager every 100 stone, and you gather quite a lot of stone per minute if you are VortiX. It's 105, so basically you get like an extra villager per minute of the game. He would have had like 10 villagers by now if he were to just be using the TC to double produce the villagers. So it's not that... Actually, it's a very significant lead, right? It's very hard to eke out a 10 villager lead so early into the game unless you do heavy harassment. You can just get it for free as Mongols if you play defensively. And I don't think he's getting anything done so far. Those ships are actually attacking the gate though, so there is a possibility for aggression. And there's obviously those deer stones that are going to be moving across the shallows here, together with a very large army of archers. Actually, that's a lot of archers, which are shown right now, by the way, so they're actually going to appear on the screen of Kasva. So Kasva knows what's happening, but he's going towards this. That's very strange. I'm not really kind of going to be in full support of this, to be honest, because, guys, is it the right approach? Like going for the very quick age up when you do not see your opponent, when they have 0 scouting information, and for all you know they could be doing a very nasty all-in and just attacking you with lots of archers. This is an 18 archer attack, and they're just going to snipe so many villagers right now. Look at this, there's a run being started as well. Those villagers escape to this outpost over here, which is going to, you know, fire back a little bit. But this is still like a lot of damage done for free, and there is nothing to defend for Kasva here. What does Kasva do? Because he's like 50% done with his Dome of Learning. He's getting heavily pressured by VortiX, and he's really not I think he has been caught with his pants down, guys. What does he do exactly? He actually just kind of tries to move the villagers out. Maybe just kind of to try to, you know, keep preparing. Obviously, those rams, until they're finished, they're not going to be tanking for anybody, right? So those archers, the numbers are going to thin out a little bit. I'm not sure why VortiX is doing this. He could have just kind of backed away. Honestly, he could have just backed away. I think he's just trying to deny this at all costs, right? I think that's the idea here. So he's just trying to keep his opponent from completing this construction, which is fair, of course. But he does lose a lot of archers. He had like 18 coming in. He has... Okay, he still has 18, but he lost a lot of... because he has been just continuously producing, right? He has not been able to actually just get as much out for... Sorry, he could have had like 30, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. He lost a lot of his units just for free coming into this fight. The problem here, of course, is, by the way, that those horsemen, the numbers are too thin once again for Kasva. So Kasva is just desperately trying to finish the landmark. I guess he's trying to go towards the knights and just kind of repel those archers with the knights, but at this point it's looking like he's going to take such heavy losses just to complete this that it's not going to be worth it. That's why I think you should never be building your landmarks at such an exposed position. I don't think this is good, because it's not like this doesn't do anything. Like House of Learning, that doesn't actually achieve much if it is built in such a frontal position here. Like if you're building a castle landmark, sure, you can just kind of build it forward. But if you have like a vulnerable position, because you're exposing yourself a lot if you go up. If you click up, you're just basically saying, okay, I'm gonna spend a lot of my resources as a small gamble that you cannot kill me for spending them. Or that I'm gonna at least force you to match me, if not to kill me very quickly. And honestly, it feels like, you know, VortiX has been able to deliver a lot of damage here. 50 on economy for VortiX, to Kasva's 27 is basically a double economy lead. And the Mongols are also going up to the Steppe Redoubt, which is going to be providing the gold generation bonus. So it's going to be a lot of extra money as well. And the Mongols have a double, you know, they've been continuously, you know, double pumping those archers from the Uvu empowered construction. So basically VortiX now, he's up to castle age just as much as his opponent is. He has a very significant eco advantage. He has a better army. Kasva is sitting on garbage units, honestly. He has nothing, literally nothing to his name. And I'm not really sure how exactly you're going to manage this from this position over here, right? I really don't know. I really have no idea what the plan is for our player over here, for Kasva, because he's... like, Kasva is sitting on a very small army count. He's sitting on what I would like to say is very low economy as well, and he's just gonna have to relinquish a lot of his ground here. He's of course getting some income with those boats, but no, he's actually not, because he lost the ships as well. So there was like, that's something I was not paying attention to apparently, but there was a coordinated attack. So when Kasva was fighting back at home, VortiX also executed the push of those boats. He killed off all those fishing ships of Kasva. Kasva is just toast, guys. He has nothing left. He has a single sacred site to his name, which is obviously not much at all. And he has weak economy. He has very small production now. He has nothing to go towards as well, because he has no resources left around his base. He just has to go out on the map. He has no tools to do so. He'd probably just try contesting these bushes. It's kind of unlikely the Mongols check them, so that's probably the way for him to kind of recover a little bit of eco. But if you lose so many villagers, that's basically permanent damage to your eco. You just have to take such a good fight if you are Kasva right now to recover. I cannot imagine, actually I cannot fathom the degree to which, you know, VortiX has to screw up right now to lose. Because he has such a huge army lead that it just looks insurmountable, to be honest, for our Mongol player. So in terms of army, by the way, we have 6 lancers. So those are knights, literally, right? So we have 6 knights for Kasva, which is a decent number, actually. I'm surprised he was able to get so many of them out. I think he was just banking up a lot of resources to do this, because he really needs to deal with the archers, right? So he's spamming out the knights, he's trying to kind of get some control back with this. But other than that, his army numbers are not too great, to be honest. Let's have a look. So he has like, what... a few scholars and 2 horsemen. That's not much, to be honest. VortiX, though. VortiX is actually sitting... oh, there's a nice raid going on. That's actually quite cute. So Kasva might get some of the economy back unless his opponent reacts. And I'm very surprised that those villagers don't move at all. But there's obviously nothing to garrison them. There's a limit as to how many units you can put in a single TC. And those knights are actually trading very favorably against the villagers, of course. The problem is, however, that he's just going to throw away his entire army. And what is going to happen inevitably, I think, right now, is a very big push coming from VortiX just to basically take revenge on the damage that Kasva has been able to deliver. And Kasva still is at a very decent economical disadvantage. There is that's a signal arrow, right, which is called attack speed arrow, giving your archers 50%, all your range units actually 50% extra attack speed, which means this is not possible to fight this anymore. You have to just back away, wait for this buff to end, and then re-engage. And honestly, Kasva has nothing to re-engage with. Let's have a look at the army count for our Mongol player. We're seeing 30 archers, 4 knights. It's incredible how large of a force we are dealing with right now. If we are Kasva, Kasva is just basically lost. I think he has really been outmatched in both those games, despite having performed extremely well prior to this particular best of 5. He is just going to be absolutely demolished by VortiX second time in a row. And this is going to be very bad for the series. I mean, for his series and for his chances, because if you are, 2 games behind, you get cheesed once in any RTS and you're just basically dead for good, right? So it's kind of scary of a prospect for for Kasva, because he has to win 3 in a row right now to advance. And it's just such an uncommon, it's not unprecedented in RTS. We have seen a lot of, Age of Empires 2, StarCraft 2 tournaments where players have been able to just kind of to do the reverse sweep. But, Kasva doesn't seem to be anywhere near the level of VortiX at this point. VortiX is well practiced, pushed to very aggressive plays. I do not see how exactly Kasva is going to be able to reclaim his position in the series, because yeah, he is just falling behind. Like game after game, he's just losing more and more and more in terms of his production, in terms of his economy. He's just kind of mistiming things a lot. And VortiX is just playing out of his goddamn mind. Like, it's incredible how well he has been. I have not seen play like this before. So it is just very cool to see this. I think it's just really neat that and a player like VortiX is actually here with us, and he's just showing us how exactly to play those less known civilizations. I was very excited to see Kasva on the Delhi, but apparently he is not as well practiced as his opponent was. We're just gonna have to wait. Once again, we're in the lobby. I'm just gonna quickly update the statistics for us, of course. So you're seeing that there was a Mongols versus Mongols won again. It was Mongols versus Delhi. And it's very interesting, actually, to see this development take place. Let's also update the score. VortiX, of course, leading the series 2-0. Okay, it did update in the end. I was kind of surprised because it was just kind of stuck with the numbers. But anyway, guys, if you're disappointed with the quality of the stream, I have to announce that I have like a new computer in the building, so it's going to be significantly improved overall. So from the next week, probably we'll be streaming in 1440p, and it's going to be way better overall because we have like a very new build for the computer coming in. So it's going to be pretty cool to see how the quality of the cast improves. I hope. So yeah, this being said, we're still in this particular matchup over here. We're looking at VortiX versus Kasva. And we're going to be waiting for the players to initiate the game. Apparently they have actually started already. We can observe now. Unless they exited the game, actually. It shows them being in the lobby again, so I'm not sure. No, I think they're in the game. So we are just waiting for that to start. We're waiting for this particular matchup to begin. And as it does, we will just cast it, I guess. I'm not sure how exactly that's going to work for Kasva, having lost 2 of those meta games before. Like, he was completely dominated. He's going to play French versus French, which is obviously one of his strong matchups. Because he won against Tato with this. So apparently he's good. Because Tato is a very good French player. So seeing him play against VortiX here is going to be quite exciting. French versus French. Something that you haven't really seen today, which is a very big surprise to me. So they're just going back to the staple meta right now. French versus French, of course, one of those kind of most, how to say this, most interesting matchups overall. Or also the most played one, because mirror matchups always are just going to show you who is the better player, really, or who the better player is. And in this case, it feels like VortiX has been able to dominate so much that I would just give the advantage to him. However, Kasva, of course, has been quite prominent beforehand, so it's really just going to depend on how well those players perform, I guess, with, of course, the edge going towards VortiX. He has both the momentum and the lead. Yeah, I know, that always has been happening, Haunted. But I just wanted to stream in higher quality as well. So anyhow, speaking of this matchup, I really had something I wanted to say. Yeah, I know, audio just cuts off completely. I was watching my own streams afterwards. It's kind of strange. Guys, by the way, if you're new to the stream, please remember that I am actually, streaming not full-time, but part-time anyway. And you can actually support me by subscribing to me on YouTube, which is just a click of a button. It's free. And by following me on Twitch. There is a link in the description for my Twitch channel if you're on YouTube, and that is something you can probably do as well. Finally, you can also become members of my channel for $3 a month to support me on YouTube. You can just click join below the stream. You can just kind of, choose to become a member this way. Of course, I also encourage you to like the video. Sorry, that was my phone. I also encourage you to like this stream on YouTube because it just provides me with more viewers potentially, right? That's kind of big of a deal. So we're just gonna wait for those players to load while I kind of self-advertise quite a bit here. Do you guys think we'll see chat? Do you think we'll see a 3-0, a clean sweep from VortiX? Is Kasva not going to be able to win a single game today? Do you think that's going to happen, or do we see like a miraculous comeback from Kasva? Because I was actually betting on Kasva, seeing how well he was performing and how poly VortiX. Okay, poly is kind of not accurate, I guess, but VortiX has been very shaky against Kalazur last week. So I was kind of thinking, Kasva better than Kalazur probably. VortiX, like, very similar actually. Those games were showcasing that VortiX wasn't really far ahead of Kalazur. So. Do you guys think it's going to be like a clean sweep, like 3-0, and we move on to the next series, or is it going to be a bit different from those two players? I'm gonna take a breather myself, kind of going into this next matchup. French versus French is gonna be cool to see new builds. I hope we see something fresh. So we'll talk about this once the game begins, of course. I have like some ideas as to how the matchup has been evolving, I guess. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait a little bit. Just hold on to this timer. Just do a few stretches, and getting ready for the cast. I am. You have all the links you might ever need, by the way, posted by our good old faithful Nightbot on the chat. So keep note of that. And 5 seconds to the game, so we're just gonna go into this best of 5 final game potentially. That's match point for Kasva. He has to win this or he's out. And without any further ado, in the top left corner of the map, in the north, as the French, it is VortiX. In the blue, in the south, spawning the red, also playing French, it's Kasva. We are playing on Dry Arabia, so it's kind of as standard as they come. This is the map that all the players had to play before because they were playing in the qualifiers, and all the best of ones in the qualifiers were played on Dry Arabia, which did favor those very aggressive openings with knights and just relentless harassment, just kind of leading towards probably just the endings of the game, because one of the players would be just better at multitasking than the other. We had some clutch endings there, but honestly, that was basically the staple of the meta. We can see that Kasva here sends a single villager towards the gold. He's not building anything yet. So we're seeing actually a house, but there is a population cap reached as well, so those villagers will have to focus build this before the house mechanic just completely kicks in. You have to see, by the way, it's very interesting that this production, like the supply actually allows you to build that final villager, even if you do not have a house at the ready, which is not the case in SC2. VortiX on the other side of the map is basically doing the same thing. House into a gold mine. Very likely to be 3 villagers on the gold, and then he's just going to move on towards the food with everything he has. Those scouts, by the way, they're just kind of diligently bringing back the sheep, because you really want to kind of have this sustainable source of food so that your economy can flourish, right? Let's reveal the entire map, I guess, because there's not much scouting to be done, I think, in the French versus French early on. Because scouting becomes very relevant later. You could see this in Kalajur versus VortiX, where VortiX was like taking a very nice... No, Kalajur was taking a very nice lead initially in the game by just scouting his opponent well and just preempting his moves. But right now we see that those scouts are just kind of running around, gathering the sheep, trying to get some economy advantage for the later stage of the game, where you actually have to sit in front of your TC with your villagers, or you're just going to get harassed to death. So I think that's what's going to happen. By this kind of non-standard opening, VortiX, going towards those tree lines, actually, he's going to get some wood very early on, which means that he's probably going to be aging up a little bit later than his opponent. Yeah, Kasva are really not into going for wood in here. He's just going to go 5 villagers onto School of Cavalry, no gathering at all on the wood line, because he's just trying to age up as soon as he can and just eke out a small early lead, I believe. But with how conservative VortiX has been in terms of moving away from the TC, I think it's very unlikely that that Kasva gets much done. However, you can remember that from that Delhi Sultanate game of his, that he did lose like 5-6 villagers to the harassment of the French, which of course amounts to a decent economical disadvantage in the mirror matchup. You cannot really be allowed to lose more than your opponent does. So it's really important for those players to be trading equally, and if someone can get a decent, I would say 3-4 villagers is a decent lead at this point. If you can eke out this 3-4 villager lead, you're already in a very decent position to win the game, I think, because you can just produce more than your opponent, because you're working with the same production economies, with the same mechanics, and generally speaking, you can control their civilization as well. In terms of the macro play, you just kind of get a very nice advantage in terms of production, because you just have that extra source of income that your opponent does not, which might be the case here, right? You basically just... You get a lot of extra food if you have like 1 villager more than your opponent, for instance, right? That's quite a bit of a lead. So both players, of course, aging up. Kasva here, getting the school almost done. There is also a house being built to avoid the population cap. That the School of Cavalry is going to finish very soon. And it's going to be probably like 30-40 seconds before VortiX can actually start his first knight. Whereas, Kasva already on the way, rallying this across the map towards the gold over here. Probably is going to be re-rallied somewhere else. As you can see over here, is just going to be directly towards the enemy base. And VortiX here on the gold. Now, we have really seen people try getting the stone as well. So people were trying to go for a 2TC build, and this has never worked. Like we have cast up to like 15-16 French games, I think. Maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe 10. But in none of those 10 games, our players were trying so desperately to actually go for that second TC. Like, in none of those games were they actually able to win, right? So the double TC play seems to be deadly to the player executing that. Because it just consumes too many resources, you don't have enough food to build another villager as well. So it's kind of to double produce villagers and produce army at the same time. So effectively just kind of set yourself for defeat. That's why, people have been kind of reluctant to do this, and they're just kind of going towards those more standard approaches, so like more aggressive builds. It feels like It feels like Protoss versus Protoss quite a bit, guys. Because in PvP in StarCraft 2, you actually have those kind of aggressive matchups as well, which favor you going for, the first expansion really late into the game, just because you have to amass an army, or your opponent just kills you, right? That's basically the idea. But SC2 has way better static defense than Age of Empires 4, I think. So then it's kind of possible sometimes to kind of get very solid static defense and defend. But here, I don't think it's possible. If you are because you have so many resources you need to gather that it's impossible really to keep track of everything. So that first night of Kasva actually wrapping around the gold here, not really been shown yet. He's actually going to show up right now. There's so much gold being gathered by VortiX. He's gonna lose one no. Okay, the knight actually harasses one villager. Oh, he's gonna do some damage to one, but he's not going to be able to kill. Please, he kills one and he's just going to escape, but taking a lot of damage here. So that's a lot of... Oh no, he makes a huge micro mistake. He stays in place and trying to micro the other knight. I guess he loses one for his effort. He's going to take 2 villagers. 3 total, therefore, for Kasva. That's what we would consider, as I said, a very nice eco advantage early on. So he gets those 3 villagers, which does put his opponent at a slight disadvantage overall, but he doesn't trade that well. He would have definitely just kind of taken out that first knight out of the base here and just defended from there. So I do think that VortiX could really improve his villager micro. Just kind of, he could have definitely pulled back here. He does, I think, need a tower to defend this position because he's getting harassed by Kasva quite a bit. And Kasva is just showing why he's good with French. He's gonna, maybe, no, he's not gonna get the kill over here, but he's keeping pressure on his opponent. He's getting a nice eco advantage. He's denying some mining as well. It's all altogether, I think, coming towards a decent opener for Kasva. And he really needs to win this, because if he doesn't, he is gone. Right, so on the other side, you can see some knight aggression, like knight-on-knight combat here. And there is a scout standing over here in the middle of the map. There's also a scout on the side of VortiX, just kind of running around the base of Kasva, trying to figure out what exactly his opponent in the red is up to. We can also see there are blacksmiths being built for both players, but I do not think either of them have enough money to invest into any blacksmith upgrade. So there's just going to be, I don't know if you guys know this, but building the blacksmith as the French unlocks the first upgrade. You just don't have it from the get-go. You need to build a blacksmith to unlock that first free melee attack upgrade that French get as a civ bonus. So that's kind of a small investment that you can get into. Some people just do not know this, so I think it's worth actually realizing this is the case. Now this devolves into a slower game. Right? We have 30 villagers for Kasva, probably 27, yep, for VortiX. So 3 villagers dead. That's going to, over time, I guess, amount to a possibility for, of course, if the game goes very long. Like if neither of those players makes any big mistakes, I think it's going to amount to Kasva just going to be able to, or just being able to go up to the next age faster than his opponent. If that's going to be the case, that's really, really good for our French player in the red, because he desperately needs to win this one. We can see there are like knight numbers actually are quite in favor of Kasva, aren't they? So we have 7 military for VortiX, 7 units including the scout, right? There's just 8 actually. So the forces of VortiX are just spread around. There are probably some knights in his base that I'm not seeing. Yeah, there are 2 knights over here. There's probably 1 in production somewhere, and there are obviously there's a scout over here. There's like a small force of knights just checking out on this mill. And there's going to be a small engagement. That's a very, very bad idea to fight this if you have VortiX. You really do not want to be losing any knights at this point. It's very scary of a proposition to lose those knights so early on into these skirmishes. You can see they're not producing much actually, so VortiX actually just kind of chilling on the gold with 10 villagers, and because he's double producing the knights with the stable and the school of cavalry. There's another engagement, by the way. This might be a knight dead again for VortiX. So VortiX, not only does he lose economy, he also loses knights. That's never good, because you really want to sit on those knights for as long as you can, because they just get the chivalry bonus, which means that they can regenerate. Both players have actually researched this, so it's actually looking like Kasva is getting like more and more leads. There's a small harassment here coming in from VortiX. He's going to get a single villager repaid in kind. This means that it's going to equalize the villager count a little bit. This being said, though, I think Kasva's still in a small lead, especially that he does actually kill that knight in the end, getting the small getting the small military advantage once again. So it's 11 army and 36 villagers to 35 and 8. So more army, 1 villager more for Kasva as well. He must have skipped a single production cycle, or he lost 2 villagers here that we did not see in the previous situation. We have a mill on the hunt over here for VortiX. We have a lot of knights over here actually just setting up for aggression. There's also a mill taken by Kasva. Those villagers are idling away at this point, so they're just not gathering much food at all. And Kasva is actually setting up for another offensive maneuver here. No big upgrades for those knights yet, so the blacksmiths are not operating yet. There is a melee armor upgrade for VortiX. So VortiX does have that to work with, and those knight numbers are equal, which means that, you know, Kasva doesn't want to fight in in front of the TC, he's just going to back away wisely, and those knights run away fast enough to escape other knights, of course, so there's not going to be much more happening out there, unless they, you know, someone decides to turn around, which is probably not smart at all. We see also 10 villagers on the gold here, so both players just double producing knights. I think that's the way to go in the matchup, and with this very small eco difference, I think there's going to be like kind of a stalemate actually situation for a while, because they're not going to be fighting because they cannot take a fight unless they get like a very decent opening. They just butt heads look at this because I think the players were just not aware of the positioning of each other's cavalry, so they just kind of move across each other, not really seeing. There's a lot of stuff happening on the map, so that's probably why we see those knights from Kasva actually coming into the mill here, trying to harass the hunting villages, but they do not accomplish anything. There's also a scout fight at the bottom of the map, but that doesn't, again, quite seem to be doing much. I do think there is a gap between the tree line and these, kind of the edge of the map, so these knights might still be able to sneak in and get into very, very unfortunate situation for VortiX, get into his base, right? Because VortiX thought he was walled off from this side, he was not paying attention, and I'm not sure if he sees those knights. Now he does for sure, right? He definitely sees those knights now. Yeah, he does. So he realizes instantaneously he's in trouble. But at the same time, VortiX is raiding hard in the base of Kasva. It's going to be a trade. Here, we see a lot of villagers going down on both sides. Actually, we'll probably compare the numbers afterwards, but there's a lot of villager kills for those nasty knights of Kasva. At the same time, though, you know, VortiX slaughtering the villagers of Kasva too. So there's a lot of killing actually taking place. We have seen like 6-7 villagers go down here, and probably a comparable amount, maybe slightly fewer, going down for VortiX. So both players very efficient in just slaughtering each other's peasants here, and this is basically going to be probably the end of the raid here, marking the end of this engagement, and both players just escape. But they kind of, I think they did not scout like each other. They were bent on just kind of taking this trade, and they just realized, you know, what situation they were in very late. Yeah, setting up for a very interesting mid game, I guess, right? Because we have 36 villagers, 10 military for VortiX, and 38-12 for Kasva. Kasva has a small advantage once again after the trade. So Kasva was able to kill more villagers, I guess. He was also able to produce more knights or lose fewer. But our player in the blue is actually holding an armor upgrade advantage for now, so it's going to be kind of equalized by that, I guess, in terms of the army numbers. So Kasva quite conservative in terms of getting the upgrades here, I guess. As you can see, he's not really going for any sort of anti-arrow defense, which we'd probably like to see. He's just going to spend all money he has on more knights, which I guess is the right approach in this matchup, right? So he's just going to kill a lot of villagers. Again, that's very good trade for Kasva, actually. So Kasva is going to murder a lot of villagers here. He's getting like 4 or 5 right now. That's a lot, actually. There's a lot of economy that VortiX cannot afford to lose, just going down completely. And I think this basically is going to mean that unless VortiX is able to take a very good fight very soon, he's just going to be able to, he's not going to, he'll never recover anymore. So it looks like actually Kasva is in an advantage right now. His knight production was stellar. His economy was a little bit better. He's been able to do some little damage early on. And right now he's just snowballing that early lead into a very significant victory over his opponent in terms of economy. Because we are dealing with 42 villagers for Kasva to, like, I guess 25 maybe right now. 28 for VortiX. So it's a huge lead. 15 villagers is really a lot, actually. It's a huge advantage for a red player. And yeah, it seems like the French matchup is going to actually favor Kasva in the end. Kasva made some more accurate macro decisions. He has also been able to just manage his trades better, I guess. He has been able to put on pressure early on. He had this more aggressive build coming into the matchup. It actually just paid off a big time for him. So it seems like, you know, like if the game keeps developing like this, VortiX is just dead. Because I think if you're VortiX, actually, you're back against the wall in a way, because you would like to be able to actually just march across the map and fight. Because every single second that passes means that your economy is just, you know, which is so much worse than your opponent's, is going to just get even worse and worse. That's a huge, huge problem for you right now if you're VortiX, because every second passing actually means that he's not stabilizing it, he's actually losing more and more. He takes this engagement, obviously doesn't favor him anymore because his opponent has way more knights. And this is potentially going to take us to game number 4 in the series over here. I do not believe that VortiX is going to be able to recover from this big of a deficit. I really don't think so. We have 10 knights to... let me see. To 16, man. That's such a big advantage for Kasva. I don't even think that VortiX is able to double produce knights anymore with this weak of an economy, right? He's just going for pikes, for spears. He's going to try to stabilize this, I guess. He's just going to try to maybe age up, get the advantage to the get the advantage from getting the veteran upgrades, perhaps. But he doesn't quite have the gold to do so, right? He needs 300 gold. He needs to be mining something, and that is just not happening at this point. Those knights, you know, there's a proxy barracks here probably going to be sniped down. There's a spear going down as well. It looks quite grim for VortiX at this point, to be honest. It's looking like he is not going to be able to just get anything out of this, honestly. This is only barracks, isn't it, as well? Yeah, he's remaking this at the back of his base, but those are his only barracks, so he had like very small unit production as well. Kasva, on the other hand, he's just kind of continually producing those knights. He has so many right now, and so many knights. And obviously, being the player of the upper hand, he's also getting those hands, which means, you know, better harvest rates, more food income overall, just better situation on the map. There's a counterattack coming from VortiX, by the way, so Kasva is going to be under pressure here, but he only uses a single villager that basically seems to be like, you know, very little else on the map for VortiX to take. So VortiX has no openings here to just kind of continue fighting. He's also going to lose this raid. I think he's just going to lose all those units from the raid, and his base is being completely obliterated by those knights. They're going to go into the production right now, you know, attacking the barracks. And yeah, sorry, VortiX steps out here. I guess you have a serious hand with being nicely ahead in this particular situation. So you can see the economy lead. Actually, it's quite decent. Actually, he had like way more food. Like it's 1,000 food difference overall, 1,500 food. It is also 1,500 gold, which is basically, you know, it's gonna equal to 14 knights almost, which is huge. It's remarkable how much of an advantage Kasva has been able to get in this matchup. So you can see the total. Let's have a look at the villager count. So of course, losing those 3 villagers here, something that you don't really recover from too well. And you just kind of, you know, start at a small disadvantage. 3 villas is not a huge deal, but it is a deal nonetheless. And as you kind of keep going forward, you know, Kasva is going to get more and more advantages. This was the pivotal moment in the game. That's where the bad trades happened for Kasva. For VortiX, that is, he just kind of lost more than he was able to kill. And from there, it was just basically going downhill, and he was not able to recover with this huge economic deficit, given the level of the play here, right? It was just basically a very close match with VortiX taking the loss. So we're just going to very quickly see if they're in another game. They're in the lobby right now, probably picking civilizations. So very quickly going to update the results. So let's just say... Might change the font, right, to match what we're using here as well. So it's going to be... French versus French, guys. That was the matchup. It should be visible right now on the screen. So I know it's not the nicest format, but it is the format nonetheless. You can kind of see what happened in the game anyway. I guess that's the best we can hope for. I could have obviously done this a little bit better. I never thought of doing this, like preparing this particular part of the stream, so that's something, I guess, to remember for later. It's the best of a table we can get, I guess, so. That's terrible, actually, isn't it? I can adjust it, or I can just justify this somehow. I think it should be better now. Because the middle alignment, we just delete all the extra spaces, the tabs, and we should be fine. I was being silly. Sorry, guys, for this. We just have to wait because the guys have not started the match anyway, so we have like a little bit of time to spare. So we're just waiting for the players to get ready for their next match, and then we'll just obviously continue. I still have to update the score, don't I? By the way. Okay, so let me just update the score as well, I guess, and check whether they have started. Yeah, they are actually starting the next game. They're obviously loading still, so it is going to be still a little bit extra time overall. To go, so we are 2-1. Advantage still to VortiX, of course. Okay, VortiX going for French again, despite having lost the previous matchup, and Kasva on the Mongols. That's interesting. So let me just kind of go to the cast. And we have 3 minutes 50, guys. I'm gonna go get some water. I'm going to chill a little bit, and we're gonna go, once this timer finishes, we're gonna go into the next cast. Maybe I managed to make myself a coffee. Okay, people, we're back. It's Michael here. We're watching Game 4 actually, between VortiX and Kasva. It is going to be... Sorry, I'm kind of thrown out because I had to run all the way back here. So, in the west, in the blue, it is VortiX playing the French. And in the east, in the yellow actually, it is going to be Kasva playing the Mongols. And it is a very peculiar map, I would say, because it is Boulder Bay featuring a lot of water. I'm surprised that they went for it. I'm not a big fan of Boulder Bays overall. I think my camera was kind of fixated wrong way, because this is the right way of looking at this. So we're actually looking at a very inverted position. So it is actually Kasva in the east. That's strange, isn't it? It's not supposed to be like this. I think this is how we are looking at this. Let's just stay with this. Let's stay with this approach, okay? So it is a very large water map with lots of fish you can contest. It is reminiscent of one of the maps in AoE 2 as well. There was a similar one available. Also a bay map with, you know, lots of water open to contest by both players. And as you guys can see, they are adjusting their builds. We have like 5 villagers here from VortiX on the wood from the very get-go, and also 6 villagers from Kasva. So both players are actually just going to be rallying towards this, getting those fishing boats as soon as they can, trying to just kind of get the, you know, resources flowing, because that's basically like a second TC, as I said. On those larger water maps, however, I think French hold a very large advantage against any other civilization, because they just have this very early attack ship, the Hulk, right, which really outmatches anything else the other civilizations might be able to offer. So it's a very big advantage for VortiX in this game, and VortiX really has a lot going for him altogether, right? Because he is 2-1 in the series, 1 more win, and he's obviously going to take over. And that's basically it. Haunted actually did that and inverted the camera to go against the introduction, and also flipped everything. This was the starting position for the camera. So I think this is the intended position as well. I'm not sure though. It did kind of flip it around when I clicked it. So we're going to work with this approach over here. We're going to work with this mini-map setup. So anyhow, 3 fishing boats. I think we're just going to see continued production of the fishing boats in towards the feudal. And then the French, I think, are going to go for this kind of timed Hulk. And they're just going to attack the Mongols relentlessly, just kind of applying the pressure all throughout the series, all throughout the match. Because if you can push your opponent off the water, especially if they're heavily invested in that, you really are going to leave a mark or leave a dent on their economy that is very difficult to recover from. Because once again, those are basically villagers, right? Those are basically villagers. They cost a lot of resources, 50, 60 wood actually. So a little bit more than your average villager does. And losing them is going to be very painful. So of course you want to have something to work against that. I'm not really sure what Mongols have at their disposal actually to deal with that. Hey, there's Sis. So I'm not really sure what exactly Mongols will have to fight the Hulks from the French. But it's going to be a very scary few minutes, I guess, until he can stabilize on the water, if he can. There's going to be a lot of trading back and forth, I believe. I don't think we'll see a lot of stuff happening on the ground, because it is a heavily water-focused map. Of course, there's a passage that can go all the way around to the enemy's base, but it is a long way, right? It's really far away, and I'm not really sure if that's going to be viable of a strategy, just kind of move all the way around. That's a lot of time for your opponent to build up the defender's advantage anyway. Once again, pardon my dog drinking in the background. Now, we see the age up here with the silver tree from the Mongols, which is, I would say it's normal, but at the same time, it's surprising because of how efficient knights are. You basically have to maybe even wall off this segment of the map to prevent the knights from continuously raiding your caravans, because the silver tree is going to work as a market, really. It's going to produce the traders faster and at a reduced cost. And if you build it next to the Uvu, which is not it's here. Okay, it's here. If you place it next to the Uvu, it can also double produce the traders for a relatively cheap cost in stone. So you can basically just kind of move your caravans all the way here, which is going to generate a lot of gold because the distance is large. Okay, so that's basically the idea for our Mongol player going up to H2. Obviously, VortiX also aging up here with his French. And VortiX is going to, after the School of Cavalry, as we might have suspected, is just going to focus on raiding, I think. That's going to be the very likely solution here, just raiding a lot. Actually, barracks are going to move towards the stone here, so he's going to unpack the barracks next to the stone. Mongols, as you guys know, can move their buildings on the map, which is pretty cool of a feature. No other civ can do this. They can just pack up and move anything except for the Uvus. So what we'll see probably is double spearman production just to protect those vulnerable units. However, I think we're going to see the Hulk being started in one of those docks. Here we are, and it is going to put a very large potential dent anyway on Kasva's economical gathering here, because I'm not really sure what Kasva is going to do against it, honestly, guys. This is going to two-shot the fishing boats. That's what I've seen anyway. So the Hulk just two-shots the fishing boats, and it's going to be a very, very thrilling... I guess it's going to be a very thrilling moment for Kasva if he is able to defend this, because it's a lot more difficult than your average ship might be to deal with. Of course, Hulks are known to be relatively slow, so they do not move through the water like your normal attack ships, so arrow ships that is, but they do have an additional bonus against the arrow ships themselves. So, you know, obviously it's 100 damage ballista attack, which can also be shot from 2 of those sides of the ship, and you can just rotate the ship around to just kind of get the most efficiency, because it can reload while rotating at the same time, as you can probably expect is going to happen right away. So there's one shot, and we don't see the rotation at all, but it does actually shoot right now. VortiX repositions, shoots again, turns around, gets the second shot off. You can actually garrison this. I did not know this. I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. I didn't know that you could garrison the boats, but that's just 3 that you can salvage. The rest of them are basically gone for good. Which means that the French get full water dominance. So, you know, double production of fishing boats if VortiX is willing to commit to this. Or potentially just, you know, stabilizing on the number of fishing boats that he currently has. Obviously with this Hulk moving around, trying to explore weather, trying to scout whether there is going to be another dock maybe around. Doesn't find anything. And that's basically all she wrote. You can see that VortiX does actually scout the caravans moving, so we know what he's up against at all, as well. So that's actually a very good piece of information for VortiX. Seeing those caravans means we can probably commit to the night production right now, get a decent standing army, just move towards this market here and just contest it. You can see the knight over here as well, just taking over completely. There's another one, no, that's just a scout being chased around. But this knight is just going to get 2 caravans killed for sure. There's a lot of resources that are just not going to come back to you at all. Obviously, we're double producing the caravans, I guess, but it's just not enough at this point to warrant the safety of those caravans right here. You can see there's also going to be an outpost being built over here. There's a YAM network, so the traders, as they move, you know, between the outposts, are going to get additional movement speed, which is, of course, good, right? Cavalry also gets that bonus. But this being said, you know, this is a very exposed line of trade line. It's very difficult to establish such a trade route without taking significant losses yourself, which is going to be the case for our Kasva over here. He loses 2 traders from the get-go, of course. That's a big dent, given how much damage he has taken on the water already, right? That's also quite a big problem for him right now, because Kasva has taken he has lost like 3-4 workers on the water, and also relinquished all the control, which means that VortiX now able to just produce more fishing boats, more warships, and maybe able to just kind of go across the water and just, you know, deliver some damage onto those workers mining underneath the TC even. I don't know how it's gonna turn out, but it seems like there is a very decent advantage for VortiX in this match. And it has just ended. I just got kicked. What the hell? I just got kicked out of the game. I'm not sure whether like they ended faster or something. Oh god. I guess maybe one of the players just quit the game. I guess that might have happened, right? One of the players might just have quit the game. No, Kasva is still in the game. That's weird. What the hell? So VortiX is seen as browsing custom now. So I got kicked from observing that. I have no idea why. I'm gonna go to the organizer's website and ask. I have no idea what happened, honestly. Because VortiX's feed is unavailable. Maybe one of them DC'd. That might be the problem, right? One of them might have DC'd. So that might be the case. We have to wait, I guess. We have to just wait. I asked the producers, quote unquote, on the matter, so we should get some information as to how that's gonna go from here, but yeah, I'm in the dark, guys. I'm in the dark right now. Because VortiX is like seemingly... I'm just going to restart the client then, I guess. I could restart. Thank you, Haunted. I think that should work. We should be able to finish the cast that way. So guys, we're on the pause right now, I guess, while we try to salvage the situation. You could go to the match history once the match finishes, right, also, and see how exactly that is resolved. Maybe it was just kind of a singular kick for the client. Let's see, VortiX on my side is still shown as browsing custom. Okay, we're just gonna go back into the replay. I think that's maybe that's it. Yeah. I'm just gonna check the replay. I think that's gonna help. Maybe Kasva just one of the players just alt F4'd. I think that must have been the case. We're just gonna go. We're gonna speed up heavily, right? It was a short game though. It was a short game, so it must have ended very soon after me. Getting the DC. Also, we're actually looking at the flipped map, so I'm just gonna flip it back to what we were working with anyway. So we're gonna reveal the entire map. We're just going to wait for this to finish. I'm not sure at what point did we actually DC. I know there was a decent network of traders. There was a fight in the middle, but that's basically all I saw. So we have seen this already, right? We're at 8 speed. We cannot go faster than this, guys. So we see this small force moving through, building an outpost over here, just kind of protecting the ground, I guess, to some extent. And the ship kills this dock eventually. I guess there's a fishing boat that escapes. And yeah, honestly, VortiX has been dominant in the series, right? He has been super dominant. It looks like he's gonna win this, honestly, because he did so much damage here. He's also sitting on a decent economy, so he's producing lots of units. We see those nice chasing, I think. I think that's around the place where we did actually get dropped, right? So we saw the ram being built. I think that's the point, exactly the point where it kicked us from the spectator mode. So basically what we see here is that there is this tower being attacked, and this YAM network is going to be broken very likely. And there are also 2 Hulks right now. One, because VortiX does actually lose one of those Hulks. There's 1 Hulk left on the map just kind of attacking or trying to post aggressively. So we see those 2 fishing boats actually going across the map. No, those are archer ships, never mind. So they're going to do some light harassment, I guess. And that's basically that. However, Kasva is losing a lot of units on the ground. He has nothing left here, does he? He has 2 traders who are very passively standing by over here. And there's a lot of knights, lots of archers as well, just moving across from VortiX, just doing a lot of damage. And basically they're just going to be relentless and unstoppable, aren't they? Because what is left for Kasva here, honestly? So VortiX has 26 military, 51 eco, and there is 55 total supply for VortiX, 43 of which is eco. So there's basically no army. There's no standing army for Kasva right now. He has no use of those traders because they cannot just move anywhere. They're not able to move past those battering rams. And this very aggressive push coming from the blacksmith tech as well with those rams is going to be able to probably break the back of Kasva, just eliminating from the series. Which is fair. I think VortiX just played a better game overall. There are no, mind you, there are no archers at all. There are 0 archers in play from Kasva, so he has no way of dealing efficiently with the archers of VortiX, given the numbers of the army that VortiX has been able to put together. There are 2 rams attacking again. This tower over here is bound to fall. This another one is probably going to follow in suit. Those 2 villagers are moving up. God knows why. Honestly, they're just gonna garrison there and die. Because, you know, once the tower falls, they're just going to get instantaneously attacked and probably killed as well. And, you know, Kasva is accumulating some sort of force here. He's accumulating a small army. He's moving up with the spears. He's moving around with the cavalry as well. But this is such a small army compared to what VortiX has, of a superior economy, no less, right? So it's basically not only a lead in terms of eco, but also hugely in terms of army quality and quantity. So those archers, as I said, very pesky, very difficult to deal with for the Mongols, unless they have archers of their own, because those horsemen are just going to get locked up by the knights, and the spears are just going to get, you know, just basically tied up by the archer volleys. So there's nothing that you can do really as Mongols in this situation. Kasva just over-invested onto the water. I guess he might have not done this at all. Maybe he could have just advanced earlier. Maybe he could have just kind of played pretended this was a normal ground game and just played it like that, because this is just never gonna work. He had some very nice moments in the tournament, but this series was not one of those nice moments, I think. That singular win with French obviously showcased that he's good on the French themselves, but on any other civilization he has been playing today, he was, you know, just worse than VortiX. It's not like that he was bad, because VortiX is like one of the top players in the entire AoE4 community. And the question is like, what exactly? Because yeah, as Haunted is saying, like Kasva didn't have the map picks, VortiX did, and French are really difficult to beat on water. I don't know what can deal with the French efficiently. I think maybe like the HRE has decent production of the warships. Maybe that should work. Maybe you can garrison some. I have no idea. Garrisoning relics on the I don't know really, because relinquishing control on the water is obviously not the best idea in the world, right? I don't know. By the way, look at my glorious match history, guys. It's good, right? It's good stuff. I've been actually winning quite a bit. We're top 1.2k or something in the world right now, which is not terrible at all. This being said, this is the end of the series, so VortiX moves forward, and Kasva, unfortunately, you know, especially given his heroic performances before, is indeed defeated. We're just going to gear up for the next series, which is going to be question mark something. I need to check. I need to check what the next series is. It is going to be Marine Lord versus the Mista. Man, oh, that's gonna be a spicy one. Because as we know, those are 2 top players on the ladder, respectively taking spot 1 and spot 2. And they're already in the picks, so we'll see what they go for very soon. But it's gonna be very cool, guys. It's gonna be Marine Lord versus the Mista coming up, guys. That's going to be the match of the day, I think. Because, as I said, 2 best players,